you might have seen my videos on this, but it's about morals and that hole that we have within us that needs God. It needs something to be our God or our religion. And so for me, I make that my own personal morals, which are going to vary person to person. So I make them mine, but I make them definite. So I won't allow something from somebody on my side just because they're on the side that I generally agree with, if it's something I wouldn't allow from somebody on the other side. And that's unfortunately what we have today, is that place that needs to be filled with God, or that hole that looks for a God or a religion, is being filled by ideology instead of morality. And so now something needs to fit my ideology. It doesn't matter if it's moral or not. It doesn't matter if, well, I let me do it, but I don't let you do it. Because it's an ideology thing. It's a side thing, a group thing, as opposed to, is that truly right or is that truly wrong? And so I'm big on Second Amendment. And even long before I owned guns, I was big on Second Amendment. I just never really needed them. And so I would hear people on the right making, or even libertarians making arguments that said that the AR-15 was never made as a weapon of war. And I went and I looked that up because I'm like, that seems kind of weird. And it's true, that's a bullshit argument. Because that's what it was made for. The M4 is basically the same gun. It's and so the AR-15 was originally designed to be a weapon of war, a weapon for the military. Now, that gets into a whole thing about why are we making bad arguments. So you want to talk about critical thinking. So why is that even? And I'm glad we fit in here because I can totally go off on rants. So why are we even making a bad argument like that just so that we can win the argument? Why are we even making the bad arguments if you don't have to? Why are you making up a bullshit argument when that's not even really the argument that you want to make if you're pro-Second Amendment? If you're pro-Second Amendment, you want to say, well, I care about the safety of women, so I think women should carry guns so that, they don't have someone who can easily overpower them. Or I don't want the government being able to easily, control everyone and take over and have things that happen like in Germany or Maoist China or wherever else.
I often cite Cambodia with that example.
Yeah,
because a lot of people forget about Cambodia, but they were called the killing fields for a reason.
Yes.
And for those of you who may not know, look just after you're finished watching the podcast, of course, go Google the Khmer Rouge. That's Khmer Rouge, like French Rouge, and just look at the numbers and the timeline. And that'll give you some perspective why the Second Amendment is important. Because one of the first things they did was made sure that the citizens did not have weapons.
Yeah, and that is a strong, valid argument that if you stick to that, it makes sense. And you come off as an honest person. You're not making up any kind of bullshit to try to make your point. You're solidly making your point. You're saying, this is what I believe in. This is why I believe in it. But then you have people that go off and just to try to win the argument, they say, oh, well, the AR-15 was never a weapon of war. Okay, so technically it was never really widely used in the military. It was still made as a thing to shoot people. But when you make the right point, which is that we're trying to defend people and we're trying to defend ourselves and we're trying to defend liberty, then absolutely, I have no problem making the point that I have a gun that was made to shoot people. It wasn't made for hunting. It wasn't made for anything else. It was made to shoot people before they shoot me.
Yeah. A crossbow wasn't designed to shoot zombies, but damn it all if you're not going to use it for that purpose, if that happens.
Right?
That in and of itself is just such a foolish argument. It's like, well, of course a gun was designed to kill someone or something. Mm-hmm. Duh. That's why they invented it. The gun was invented to kill people.
Yeah, I used to call out people that I normally agree with. So people that were part of my, I guess you could say, in-group, I'd say, no, I'm not going to allow that argument. That's bullshit. You make a better argument because you're making me look bad. You're making my side look bad by being dishonest. So
Right.
be honest. Make your point honestly. You should be able to go through this world without lying. And you should be able to tell the truth all the time. And it may not be fun, and you may have to be a little bit
Sometimes
creative.
it sucks. Because that's like, oh, I'm going to have to be a dick here.
Yeah, right?
And I really don't want to be, but I'm going to have to because you're saying some goofy shit.
I get called out all the time for being an asshole, but I'm just like, I mean, do you want to hear it straight up? Or
But it goes back to what we talked about first. Do you want to be right or do you want to be truthful?
Yeah.
Because it's like, I can be right in many, many arguments, but it would be intellectually dishonest to use the arguments that I would use. And here's another one. So this is kind of the opposite end of the spectrum. This is going to get me some heat because it always does. But like,
Yes.
our transgender friends, listen, we love you as human beings. But you guys got to get some better arguments. Like, because all of your arguments suck. And the number one argument, so this goes back to what we were talking about, you were talking about with the Second Amendment and how the argument becomes more important than the end result. If the end result is we want equal treatment of everyone, so we already live in the United States, where pretty much you, as an adult, well, at least you should be free to do pretty much whatever you want so long as you're not hurting anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So that means if you're 18, and pardon the expression, but this is kind of, I'm making it absurd to be kind of funny, but like, if you turn 18 and you want to cut your dick off and wear a dress, that's none of my business. It's none of my business. That's an argument in and of itself. The argument is because this is what I want to do to be happy. Go nuts. You don't have to justify it anymore.
Well,
at least you shouldn't have to.
Go nuts.
Well,
less.
go nut less. or you can get nudicles if you're wanting to go the other way. You know, and I'm laughing, but at the same time, it's like all these arguments, and it's because I keep making this point. It's not because the people making these arguments. I think 99% of the trans community just wants to be left alone. I honestly believe that. There's a 1% extremely loud vocal minority that is ruining it for everyone, and it's because that loud vocal minority does not want equality. They want to be treated special.
Yeah, and that is, and again, many people that fit that category that I absolutely adore and have no problem with, but it is a ripe environment for narcissists because it's, I need you to believe my reality. And so my reality is this, I need you to believe it. And this all goes back to like how Jordan Peterson became famous too, is he's like, you know, I have no problem with calling you something, but it depends on your intent. And if your intent is to be a jerk, no, I'm not going to go along with that. I'm not going to play that game. But also it's like in the same vein is talking about people's sexuality. Why are we even having this conversation? As far as I'm concerned, somebody's sexuality doesn't matter unless we both want to have sex with each other. And if we both want to have sex with each other, then sexuality doesn't matter anyways because
we're dialed in. We're
yeah,
dialed in.
So sexuality doesn't matter in really any case at all.
It's weird how that works.
So long as you don't want to force me to watch, you can do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing. They just want everyone to know, like, hey,
we're losing track of the real
look
issue.
over here.
Yeah, we're losing track of the real issue, and the real issue is, you know, is this really anyone's business?
Well, also, going back to what you said, they say they want equality, but at the same time they want to be treated differently, like because they want special, like, they would just want to feel special because of how they are, but at the same time it's like, well, you can't be equal if you want to be treated differently, you know. So,
and anyone who is confident in who they are doesn't require that from somebody else. Like, I can go out into the world, and if somebody looks at me and thinks that, you know, hey, that's a woman, and they want to refer to me as she, okay. Like, that doesn't have any effect on who I am or how I feel about myself. Right. Exactly. I would think it's a little weird.
I think they're a little...
But I'm not gonna force anything upon them, and I'm not gonna force them to identify me as a particular thing, because what do I care what they think? Like, it really has zero effect on my life, if they think I'm a woman or a train or whatever, they
Attack
can think,
helicopter.
yeah, I
Apache
know who I am. I feel like I feel. And I mean, that's the whole question of like, what does it feel like to be a man? How do I even know what it feels like to be a man? I know what it feels like to be me.
I mean,
but-
peeing standing up is pretty awesome, but hey, they have tools for that now. Women can pee standing up too now.
Yeah.
You just need an accessory.
Right, but I don't think that defines like what it means to be a man. I don't
No.
think there is a definition of what it means to be a man, because you, I'm sure, feel different in a number of ways than I do. So which one of us feels like a man? I don't know.
Right, but what you're pointing out there is how subjective proof can be, or subjective reality can be problematic, because
Right.
I think in the zeitgeist, contrary to what many people say they believe in, I think if you look as planet-wide as a whole, I think most people on planet Earth, if you point to a photograph of a man and say, is that a man or a woman, they're going to be able to tell you. And now there's going to be a couple that'll be like, well, I don't really know. It's like, no, look at him.
He hasn't told me.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like,
I mean,
haven't asked
they.
him yet. I haven't asked them yet.
Oops.
You know,
Yeah.
but I'd wager to say a vast majority of people on planet Earth would be like, yeah, that's a dude.
Yeah.
I'm a dude. He's a dude.
She's a dude. No, she's not a dude. Well, she might be a dude. We don't
And
know.
it makes conversations easier. It's a lot of times when I'm having conversations, which are usually the argument type conversations with people, I at some point in that I have to clarify that we no longer need to give caveats for absolutely everything and say, oh, well, not all of these people or not all of, and I'm like, okay, yeah, no shit. Can we just save time and not have that every time a point is brought up and just move along with the conversation so that our mental energy is better spent actually getting somewhere as opposed to covering all of our little tiny bases? Like, that is such a waste of time. And if I'm running into that and I'm having to waste that much mental energy, and that person that I'm talking to is spending all of that mental energy on caveats, how much mental energy in the world is being spent on this BS of saying, oh yeah, but not everybody, or what about this weird one-off exception over here?
Yeah.
That's a ton of resources up here that we could be using to get to Mars or whatever.